Your life today is nothing but the reflection of the thoughts you allowed yesterday. If you cannot master your mind, the world will master you. But if you learn to control your thoughts, nothing, absolutely nothing can stop you. In this lesson inspired by Napoleon Hill, we are going to uncover the timeless truth. Every change in your outer world begins with a change in your inner world. Your thoughts are the blueprint of your destiny. Control them, and you control your future. Fail to control them, and you remain a prisoner of chance and circumstance. Everything you see in the world around you, every invention, every structure, every empire of wealth, and even every downfall began as a single thought in the privacy of someone's mind. The mind is not simply a tool that reacts to life, it is the architect that designs life. It is the master key. And when you realize this truth, when you take it out of the realm of philosophy and move it into the center of your daily practice, you begin to understand why some rise above circumstances while others remain chained to them. You see, your outer world is nothing more than a mirror reflecting your inner world. A man who believes himself defeated long enough will begin to live out that defeat, even if opportunity knocks at his door. Another, who believes himself capable, who holds fast to the conviction of eventual success, may stumble 100 times, but each stumble becomes a stepping stone to triumph because his thoughts remain fixed on the vision. The thought is the seed, and like every seed, it contains within itself the potential of an entire forest. Now, here lies the power and the danger. The mind does not discriminate between the seeds it is given. Plant a seed of doubt, and it will grow doubt. Plant a seed of fear, and you will reap hesitation, paralysis, missed opportunities. But plant a seed of faith, plant a vision of purpose, and you will reap courage, endurance, and eventually achievement. The soil of the subconscious does not reject. It accepts what you allow to be sown. That is why every reality begins with a thought, because thought is the very act of planting. The difference between those who drift aimlessly through life and those who carve their names into history is not luck nor circumstance, but the way they govern the traffic of their own minds. Most people allow thoughts to come and go like strangers passing in the street. They give equal audience to fear and faith, to doubt and determination, never realizing that whichever guest they entertain most often will take up residence. The disciplined thinker, however, learns to stand guard at the door of the mind. He decides what thoughts may enter and what must be turned away. And by this choice, he shapes his destiny. Consider for a moment the power of sustained thought. A passing idea may flutter and fade, but a thought that is deliberately held, repeated, and nourished takes root in the subconscious. And from there, it directs the actions, habits, and circumstances of life. Every invention, the light bulb, the airplane, the smartphone, was once just a sustained thought, stubbornly held in the face of ridicule, impossibility, and countless failures. The men and women who brought these into reality did not stumble into greatness. They thought it into being and refused to let go of that thought until it became flesh. And let us not forget the quiet truth that this law works equally for misery as it does for success. The man who constantly imagines disaster, who entertains thoughts of poverty, sickness, or betrayal, will unconsciously align his behavior with those very outcomes. His mind becomes a magnet, drawing to him the very experiences he most fears. He proves himself right by the evidence he creates. Meanwhile, the one who dares to imagine prosperity, health, and opportunity, and who feeds those thoughts consistently, begins to attract the conditions necessary for them to materialize. To the skeptic, it appears like coincidence. To the student of the mind, it is law. The challenge, then, is not whether thoughts create reality, they do. The challenge is whether you will take control of that process or allow it to control you. Will you be deliberate in your thinking, or will you drift with the currents of circumstance, pulled by every passing fear and distraction? The mind is the master key, but a key is useless if left on the table. It must be picked up, turned, and applied to open the door you desire. When you govern your thoughts with purpose, you begin to feel a shift in your being. The noise of doubt grows quieter, the fog of confusion lifts, and you start to see paths where once there seemed only walls. You begin to notice opportunities that others overlook because your mind has been trained to recognize them. You become, in essence, the architect of your life rather than the tenant of chance. And here is the great responsibility: no one can do this for you. Others may inspire you, they may awaken you to the truth, But no one else can think for you. No one else can choose which seeds to plant in your mental soil. That sacred duty belongs to you alone, and the reward for fulfilling it is nothing less than the ability to change the entire trajectory of your existence. So I ask you now, what are you planting in your mind? Are you cultivating visions that expand your potential? Or are you nurturing weeds that choke the growth of your destiny? Every thought, no matter how small, is a cause set in motion, and every cause will one day bear its fruit. If you desire to change your life, begin not with your circumstances, not with your environment, not even with the people around you. Begin with your thoughts, for they are the invisible architects of your future, and they will, without fail, build a structure to match their design. The mind is the master key. Use it wisely, and no door will remain closed to you. If the mind is indeed the master key, then the hand that turns that key is focus. For it is not enough to merely think. One must decide what thoughts deserve repetition, what ideas deserve to be nourished, and what images deserve to be held until they shape reality. This is the law of dominant focus. What you dwell upon, you inevitably become. It is one of the most profound truths of success, and one of the most often overlooked. You may have noticed that two people can face the same set of circumstances, and yet their lives take entirely different directions. One sees only obstacles, rehearses them in his mind, speaks of them in every conversation, and magnifies them until they become unbearable. The other sees possibilities, concentrates upon them, speaks with conviction about them, and little by little transforms possibility into actuality. The difference is not fate, it is focus. Whatever becomes the dominant image in your mind grows in influence until it governs your actions, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. Think of the mind as a magnifying glass. Left unfocused, it scatters light in all directions with little effect. But when it is directed with precision, it gathers energy into a single point powerful enough to ignite a flame. In the same way, scattered thought produces scattered results, but concentrated thought, held long enough and intensely enough, produces extraordinary power. Every great achievement is born from this principle. The inventor who refuses to release an idea, the leader who holds a vision of change, the entrepreneur who imagines success long before it appears in reality, all of them are practicing the law of dominant focus. But let us not ignore the other side of the law, for it works impartially. The man who continually focuses on failure will act in ways that fulfill that expectation. The woman who constantly dwells on betrayal will eventually find it, even in innocent gestures. The individual who obsesses over what might go wrong will unconsciously close doors that could have opened. What you give your focus to becomes magnetic. It draws to you opportunities, people, and outcomes that match the tone of your dominant thought. This is why discipline of the mind is not merely desirable, it is essential. Most people drift, allowing their focus to be hijacked by the loudest voice, the latest crisis, or the nearest distraction. They scroll endlessly, consume aimlessly, worry perpetually, and then wonder why their lives feel scattered and powerless. They fail to recognize that attention is the currency of creation. Where you spend it, you purchase your future. The disciplined individual, however, learns to direct his attention like a craftsman handles his tools. He invests it in visions worthy of becoming reality, in ideas that build rather than destroy, in images of triumph rather than despair. Consider how this plays out in everyday life. A student who continually imagines success in his studies will begin to study with greater intent, not because he forces himself, but because the dominant picture in his mind pulls him toward it. An athlete who rehearses victory in her imagination finds energy in the body she did not know existed. A business leader who visualizes growth begins to notice opportunities others dismiss. In each case, the focus creates a filter through which the world is perceived. That filter then directs action, and action creates results. Now, let us take this further. Focus is not only about the images you hold, it is also about what you choose to ignore. For the mind cannot dwell on everything at once. To concentrate on one thing is to withdraw attention from 1,000 others. This means you must not only choose where to direct your thoughts, but also where to deny them. To constantly rehearse your grievances, to revisit past wounds, to obsess over criticism is to allow your future to be shaped by your past. To shift your focus deliberately toward what you desire, toward growth, toward strength, toward possibility is to take command of the creative process of life. This is not wishful thinking, it is practical psychology. The subconscious mind responds to repetition. It cannot tell the difference between imagination and reality when an image is deeply felt and consistently rehearsed. That is why advertisers spend billions to capture your attention. Why leaders repeat slogans until they become movements. Why self-talk, whether negative or positive, eventually becomes self-fulfilling. Your subconscious builds your reality around the ideas you allow to dominate. The law of dominant focus, therefore, is not optional. It is always at work, whether you are aware of it or not. The only choice you have is whether you will use it consciously to your advantage or unconsciously to your detriment. To master it is to begin shaping your future with intention rather than accident. To neglect it is to become a victim of whatever thoughts happen to seize your attention in the moment. So, I ask you, what are you dwelling upon? Do your dominant thoughts inspire strength or drain it? Do they open doors or close them? Do they elevate you beyond your circumstances, or do they chain you to them? For in time, you will become the very thing you rehearse most often in your mind. If you desire transformation, do not wait for life to change around you. Change your focus within you. Train your mind to return again and again to the images that serve your highest purpose. Let your vision become the magnet of your energy, the compass of your decisions, the constant background music of your days. For in the end, the truth is simple yet profound: what you dwell upon, you become. Choose your focus with care, for it is the mold into which your destiny will be cast. Fear and doubt are the twin thieves of human potential. They arrive quietly, often uninvited, and before a man realizes it, they have stolen his courage, drained his will, and shackled his imagination. Yet Napoleon Hill taught that these very emotions, destructive as they may seem, can be transformed. Like fire, fear can consume recklessly, or it can be harnessed to generate heat and power. Doubt can paralyze, or it can be refined into a cautious wisdom that sharpens judgment. The secret is not to deny these emotions, but to transmute them, to convert their raw, untamed energy into creative force. Consider for a moment how much energy is bound up in fear. When a person is afraid, the heart beats faster, the senses sharpen, adrenaline flows. The body prepares itself for decisive action. Most squander this energy by retreating, by imagining worst-case scenarios, by rehearsing failure before it has even occurred. But the individual who learns the art of transmutation seizes that heightened energy and directs it toward creation, toward problem solving, toward bold action that otherwise would have been postponed. The same current that destroys one life empowers another, depending only on how it is channeled. Doubt, too, possesses a hidden gift. Left unchecked, it gnaws at the spirit, whispering that you are not enough, that your dreams are too grand, that the obstacles are too immovable. It convinces countless men and women to surrender before the battle even begins. Yet when refined, doubt becomes discernment. It forces you to examine your strategy, to strengthen your foundation, to prepare with thoroughness. Doubt, when transmuted, does not stop the journey. It ensures that the bridge you are building will hold when you cross it. The principle of emotional transmutation is grounded in a fundamental truth: energy is never lost, only redirected. Every fear you feel, every moment of hesitation, every anxious thought carries energy. You may waste it in endless worry, or you may invest it in forward momentum. The man who trembles before a challenge, and then takes that trembling as fuel to prepare more diligently, to work more intensely, to rise earlier and endure longer, he has discovered the alchemy of the mind. He has turned lead into gold, weakness into power, paralysis into progress. History provides endless examples. The great leaders who moved nations often confessed to deep moments of fear. Yet instead of allowing fear to silence them, they transmuted it into intensity, into a presence that others could feel. The artists, writers, and inventors who gave the world masterpieces wrestled with doubt daily, yet they bent that doubt into discipline, using it to sharpen their work until it could withstand scrutiny. Even the entrepreneur who risks his fortune knows fear intimately, but he converts it into vigilance, ensuring he leaves nothing to chance. In every case, fear and doubt did not vanish, they were transformed. To practice this art in daily life, one must first recognize the moment fear arises. Instead of running from it, pause and ask, how can this energy serve me? If fear warns of unpreparedness, let it drive you to prepare. If it reveals attachment, let it remind you to strengthen your independence. If it tries to shrink your vision, let it challenge you to expand it further. The same with doubt: examine it not as a verdict, but as a question. Let it ask whether you are committed enough, disciplined enough, focused enough. Then let your answer be in action, not hesitation. This discipline requires self-awareness. It demands that you no longer see emotions as masters to obey but as servants to be directed. You are not the slave of fear. You are its commander. You are not the victim of doubt. You are its refiner. The mind that masters this truth becomes unshakable, because it knows that even the darkest emotions are raw material for light. Think, too, of what happens when this principle is neglected. The fearful man retreats into mediocrity, convincing himself that safety is virtue. The doubtful man delays until opportunities pass, convincing himself that hesitation is wisdom. Their lives shrink not because they lacked power, but because they misused it. They allowed their emotions to dictate the outcome instead of redirecting them toward their higher aim. In contrast, the man who transmutes these forces becomes larger with each challenge. He is not unafraid, but he is unstoppable. Ultimately, emotional transmutation is the bridge between weakness and strength, between reaction and creation. It reminds us that no emotion is wasted if properly directed. Even the most negative states can become instruments of growth. The energy you spend on worry could be building your skill. The intensity you give to doubt could be perfecting your craft. The hours lost in fear could be invested in action that changes the trajectory of your life. So, I say to you, do not curse your fear, and do not despise your doubt. They are signals that you are alive, that you are standing at the edge of growth. Welcome them as reminders that you have energy waiting to be claimed. Then transmute that energy with clarity, discipline, and purpose. For in the final analysis, it is not the absence of fear or doubt that marks the successful mind, it is the ability to transform them. The one who learns this art holds in his hands a source of power that others waste. He stands firm where others retreat. He advances where others hesitate, and he creates where others collapse. Remember, this fear and doubt are not your enemies. They are raw power awaiting direction. Transmute them, and they will become your allies, your fuel, your hidden strength. In that moment, you no longer merely endure life, you master it. Imagination alone does not move mountains. A man may dream the most extraordinary vision, but if he never translates that vision into action, it remains nothing more than a pleasant fantasy. The world does not reward the dreamer who refuses to act. It rewards the doer whose actions give substance to the dream. Napoleon Hill made this principle clear: thought is the seed of creation, but action is the bridge that carries that seed into the soil of reality. Without the bridge, the seed withers. With it, the seed takes root and grows into something tangible, something that influences the world beyond the mind of its creator. The truth is simple but often ignored. Every great achievement is born twice. First, in the mind as imagination, second, in the world through deliberate action. The skyscraper begins as a sketch, the symphony as a whisper of melody, the business empire as a single idea. Yet in every case, the creators refused to leave their vision suspended in thought. They labored, they experimented, they risked failure, and they endured setbacks until the intangible became concrete. That is the essential movement of life, from thought to deed, from conception to creation. Why do so many fail to cross this bridge? Because action is uncomfortable. It strips away the illusion of safety. As long as a dream exists only in the mind, it cannot be judged, criticized, or proven wrong. The moment it is acted upon, it becomes vulnerable. Yet vulnerability is the price of growth. The individual who waits for perfect certainty before acting never acts at all. The bridge demands courage, and courage is the willingness to step forward while fear still walks beside you. Thought without action creates frustration. A man knows what he desires but never tastes it. He imagines change but remains stagnant. His inner vision becomes a torment rather than a source of strength. But when he acts even imperfectly, he begins to align his inner and outer worlds. Each step taken, however small, builds momentum. Each effort clarifies the vision. The act of doing teaches the mind what no amount of speculation could ever teach. Knowledge without application is potential power. Applied knowledge, thought in action, is actual power. Understand that action is not merely motion, it must be intelligent motion. Many confuse business with progress. They scatter their energy in countless directions, never uniting thought and effort under a definite purpose. But true power comes when the imagination holds a clear picture of the outcome and action marches steadily toward it. This unity of thought indeed creates an unstoppable rhythm, a force that others recognize as certainty, as conviction, as destiny in motion. Every man and woman must ask themselves, am I merely imagining or am I building? The difference is found in consistent execution. Dreams alone inspire, but daily habits construct reality. The writer becomes an author not by imagining books, but by writing them word by word. The leader shapes history not by picturing change, but by making decisions and acting upon them. The builder does not stop at the blueprint. He lays brick upon brick until the vision stands. In every case, imagination opens the path, but action is the step that carries one forward. It is also important to recognize that action refines imagination. The dream conceived in the mind is often incomplete, sometimes even naïve. Only by acting upon it does the dream mature. Reality tests the vision, reshapes it, strengthens it. Obstacles appear not to discourage but to instruct, revealing weaknesses in the plan and demanding greater resilience. Through this process, the dream evolves into something stronger, more enduring, more suited to the real world. The bridge is not one way. Action shapes thought as much as thought directs action. Together, they form a cycle of creation, each feeding and elevating the other. Do not wait for the perfect time to act, for such a time never arrives. There will always be reasons to delay, to hesitate, to retreat into the comfort of imagination. But every day spent waiting is a day where energy is wasted and opportunities slip by unnoticed. The man who builds greatness acts before he feels ready, trusting that clarity will grow from movement. Progress is born not of certainty, but of persistence. Think of the countless inventions and movements that reshaped civilization. They were not the work of those who merely dreamed. They were the work of those who dared to embody their dreams in action. Edison tested thousands of filaments before the electric bulb burned steadily. The Wright brothers risked ridicule and failure with each experimental flight. These men were not dreamers alone, they were doers. They understood that the bridge between imagination and reality is crossed not once, but daily, with relentless determination. Let us be clear, thought is the origin of power, but action is its proof. Until you move, your vision has no weight, no presence in the world. Until you commit, your imagination is an echo unheard by others. But when thought takes form through action, the invisible becomes visible, the private becomes public, and the world is altered because you dared to bridge the gap. So I leave you with this: do not let your imagination become a prison of unfulfilled potential. Let it be the architect, yes, but then walk across the bridge it designs. Take the first step, however small, and the path will unfold beneath your feet. Remember, reality bends not to idle dreams but to disciplined action. The life you desire is waiting, but it waits on your willingness to act.